Okay, we're going to continue on with our discussion of the FRPP data dictionary. Real property unique ID, that stays the same, 24 alphanumeric characters. Again, a reminder, when you're dealing with the life cycle of your asset, once you sign it or assign it a unique ID within FRPP, you need to keep that ID throughout the life cycle of the asset. We are doing more and more trend analysis on the data from year to year. The only way that we can successfully do that analysis is if you keep the ID the same. So understanding that agencies may change various systems that they use to roll up and feed into the FRPP, and that may require a it may require a change in the method of assigning unique IDs. For example, what was ABC is now 123. We fully understand that. However, you need to add a field in your new system to capture the FRPP ID and make sure that it stays the same. So I just provide that to you for your reference. Won't say every year, but almost every year we get some organization that changes their system and wants to know if they can change the unique ID. So again, the answer is no. All right. The next group of data elements we'll consider together: city, state, country, county. Those are all based off of GLC codes that either come from the GENC standard adopted by the Federal Geographic Data Committee. GENC is the standard for country codes, and GNIF is the adopted standard for city, state, and county. Congressional districts, again, you can refer to the house.gov website. It is an open text field because we do understand that some assets will cross congressional district boundaries. So you may enter more than one congressional district. And then you have zip code. You can enter either a 5-digit character or a 9-digit character. Right. Installation, sub-installation ID. I do want to cover these two data elements together. Again, this goes to analysis that has been done and probably will be done in the future. The goal in these two data elements is to help identify if a particular asset is associated with an installation comprising multiple assets, or if it is a standalone asset. So for instance, we'll just pick a military base. That's comprised of hundreds, maybe even thousands of assets and records in FRPP. When these data elements were considered, the goal was that the installation ID would be shared and would be constant among all assets located at that installation, but that the sub-installation ID would vary so that we can perform analysis looking at the installation ID and how many assets are contained or have that unique installation ID to determine, is this a standalone building or is this part of an overall larger installation. And then installation name remains an optional data element. There's no change there. Is there any question on installation ID or sub-installation ID? Disposition. Again, if you report a disposed asset, the status is changed to D for disposed, and you're required to submit the data elements that appear on the top of page 22. Again, we are asking for annualized operating costs. We fully understand that you may dispose of an asset during the middle of the fiscal year, but to provide consistent numbers to compare to other assets, we are asking for an annualized cost. Disposition method. We have, again, added additional methods. The goal is to hopefully reduce the number and overall percentage of disposed assets reported as other, which I think has ranged anywhere from 25 to 40% in the past few years. Disposition date, we have just added examples to correspond to the new categories. So date of disaster, date of abandonment, etc. 24C, again, this is just a label change on page 23. What last year was called disposition value is now actual sales price. Again, you are only reporting it for assets that are sold. Likewise, the new data element 24D, net proceeds, that is only being reported if you dispose of an asset via the sale method. We fully appreciate that there'll be instances when disposal costs exceed the actual sales price. Net proceeds may be submitted as a negative number. Then sustainability data element. Lease expiration date stays the same. Are there any questions up to this point? All right. Personnel is a required, it is a new data element, excuse me. It's a new data element. However, the method of collection will be done in O&B Max, as agencies did for the first round of PMA benchmarking roughly 12 months ago. We are just providing it here as a reference with the definition that also corresponds to the PMA definitions that were submitted last spring. Any questions on the data elements themselves? Any of the definitions? I'm happy to answer questions that people may have. Okay. I'm going to highlight some of the remaining sections in the data dictionary. So starting on page 25, we review the existing FRPP data validation and the 3 stages that currently exist. I'm going to move ahead now to highlight some of the changes that we incorporated last year related to data validation. So I'm going to move ahead to page 29. And these are the data validation tools. We have automated the data anomaly process within FRPP. We had rolled this out initially, I believe, the end of October, maybe early November for the 2014 submission, and developed 17 data anomaly categories that while the data is valid per the business rules, which we kind of went over during the narrative discussion on the data dictionary, there may be data anomalies when you look at your inventory at a larger level than asset by asset, record by record. So on page 29 and continuing on to 30, that table contains the 17 data anomalies that we first rolled out last year. So I'd encourage you to look at those. Agency administrators and some other users have the ability, under the Reports tab, to get an automatically generated report listing which assets in your inventory fall into one of the 17 data anomaly categories. We would ask you, again, as you're submitting FY15 data, take a look at the anomalies identified in 2014 to possibly identify data inaccuracies that can be corrected for 2015. Data accuracy is a very hot button issue with GSA, OMB, the FRPC, and other stakeholders such as GAO and Congress. So we are trying to make strides to show the improvement in the accuracy of the data. So please reference pages 29 and 30, plus go in and look at the data anomaly report for your agency to, again, potentially demonstrate improvement in your agency's data. Any questions on that data, automated data anomaly report? Moving ahead, starting on page 34, we have a listing of the real property uses and associated definitions. So there is a new land category, outpatient health care, that's provided there. For buildings, on page 36, we have added the new categories. These buildings came out of the effort in regards to, we're setting the baseline for 2015 for the reduce the footprint policy. So this is the time to consider these other building categories and identifying your inventory, be it office or warehouse or potentially one of these new categories. Then structures, we have added renewable energy system, again, at the request of an agency. I'm going to skip past the XML schema, but that's provided to you for reference. I'm moving ahead to page 57, which has the quick guide. This may be used more commonly by your developers or your IT staff, but it provides a reference for the data element number and name. It indicates the field type, be it numeric, date, alphanumeric, the length that the characters can be for that data element, what are the accepted or the valid values. It provides the XML tag for reference plus an associated notes column. And we have highlighted there in yellow changes that have occurred. And again, continue to move on. We've got a set of frequently asked questions. Now we're starting to get towards the back with the appendices. acronyms for some of the various reference names in the data dictionary. And then we get into the last set of appendices, which are the agency bureau codes, and we do provide some information towards the back on the listing of the CFO Act agencies as that applies to reduce the footprint and freeze the footprint. We also provide the GLC country code crosswalk, which was instituted last year. All right, with that, are there any questions in regards to the 2015 data dictionary?
No, real comprehensive. Thank you.
You're welcome. Appreciate it, Stephen. Anyone else online have questions? Okay, give me a second to stop the recording.